Arsenal come streaming forward now in surely what will be their last attack. A good ball by Dixon, finding Smith. But Thomas charging through the midfield. Thomas, it's up for grabs now. Thomas, right at
the end. Hello and welcome to Gooners in the USA. Mike, how stoked are you for this?
Oh, I see what you did there. Actually, that was pretty creative.
But do the listeners?
How many writers had to collaborate 16. To put that together for you? 16 writers. So that's almost all of them.
Yeah, I gave two. I gave two a vacation.
One for Passover, one for Easter. Happy Easter, motherfuckers!
Happy Easter.
I don't know if that's the official greeting that you're supposed to say, but how was Ollie's first Easter? Is he drowning in chocolate eggs?
You know, there's not a lot of the chocolate eggs are actually coming next week when my family arrive.
For British Easter?
Yeah, but no, we didn't do the big chocolate with him because he's so young. So my mom got him a bunch of toys. My wife just said to me, "Are we terrible parents that we didn't get him anything for Easter?" I said, "No, my mom did." He's 10 months old. He doesn't know. No, but it was good. We went to our neighbors for a nice little breakfast brunch, and we were all out until 2 a.m. last night. So it was just basically a hungover shit show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering how the eventual heir to the Gooners in USA throne would roll on a major holiday like this. But
how was your Passover?
Oh, boy, I've been eating all kinds of matzah and fucking eggs and all kinds of shit. But I'm much more religious this year than I was last year, given that last year I was gallivanting around Germany, of all places, eating ham and cheese baguettes during Passover. But yeah, it's a little bit more traditional this year. But thanks for asking. And you know, I think we got to get to today's game and today's guest before today's game. But, you know, it's 4 wins on the trot, 11 scored, 1 allowed, 5 more years for Wenger. And I'm sure our guest will agree with that. So today, and I'm sorry it's taken so long to get to, but today we welcome a long overdue debutante to the pod, someone who actually I connected with on Twitter right at the beginning, real early in our careers, Andy. Maybe a month or so in. So this is back before the days where he, rose to YouTube stardom as the number 49 performing superstar worldwide. The guy's a magnate. I mean, he rakes in, Andy, literally tens of pounds each month. The guy's amazing. Just bought a new Maserati, a Bugatti. I mean, the guy's got it all. Welcome to the pod, Lee Gunner.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on. What an introduction that was, by the way.
Hey, I spend 6 days a week making introductions.
There's 12 writers who do our intros.
They're all fat, bald Jewish guys.
Well, that's right. If I carry on rising to this YouTube stardom you're speaking of, then maybe I can buy Arsene Wenger's contract off.
Hey, that would be nice.
Oh, man.
That would be nice.
Should we just get lead judges to do that, considering the guy's just balling?
Yeah, I mean, if he could switch places with Arsene right now and just send Arsene to Dubai, I'd be all for that. So
he'd probably do it well. In fact, he would do a better job than Arsene. So that's a given.
And Arsene would just kind of go down those water slides. Like I always wonder how. Like I imagine Lee going down those water slides at Atlantis, like Lee Judge's just way out of control fast because there's absolutely no friction. There's no hair whatsoever to keep him at a normal speed. So
See,
like that water slide that people got
so much alcohol that he probably won't feel the hit when it crashes come the bottom of it.
So how lucky is it that you became an Arsenal supporter? I mean, with a last name like Gunner. I mean, what are the chances of that?
Kind of weird, right? Do you know what I mean? But it's funny because like my family, there's no real Arsenal in my family. Like my dad, when he was growing up, was Millwall, and my granddad, he was Millwall. My mum was born in Wimbledon, so she's got a little affiliation to them. But
it's a rough childhood.
And my youngest brother, he's home and away for Derby County. Yeah, and they're not doing too great at the minute. They're in the Championship, but yeah, the rest of my family, none of them really follow football. So, I mean, it's funny when I was growing up, obviously I've got the surname I've got. Everyone, like when I was sort of 7, 8, 9 years old, and I'm getting into football. Obviously, I picked Arsenal. The reason I picked Arsenal.
Wait a second, that's not actually your last name, is it?
Straight up, it is. Yeah.
Oh my god! I 100% did. I was making a joke.
It actually is. It's never been changed, but that's genuinely my surname. But it's funny because I actually all the kids in my school when I was growing up.
I'm fucking blown away by that. I was just completely assuming that it wasn't.
No, genuinely, straight up, it is. But yeah, all the kids in my school when I was growing up were all Liverpool, Man United, and I was just like, nah, sod that. I want to be Arsenal. And obviously, when I was younger, I didn't realise that it was the Gunners and my surname. So it was only when I started getting into football, really, like first couple of years in, that I realised, oh, actually, yeah, I've picked the right team. You know, couldn't really support Tottenham with that surname, could I? Do you know what I mean?
So did you go to school? I mean, like, were some of your schoolboy mates like Reginald Hotspur and Nigel Swans? I mean, like, had this little pack of people.
I'll tell you what, it was quite funny growing up at school because, like, first, like, middle school, as we call it, like, the Arsenal weren't really doing anything fantastic. You know, and it was only when I sort of got into secondary school that Arsenal started like winning trophy after trophy after trophy. I mean, we were half decent when I was like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, obviously under the back end of the George Graham era. But it was only when we come in like in 96 onwards to that little 2000 peak, you know, 2002, 2004. It was only then that Arsenal were just ripping up trees and winning pretty much everything. So, yeah, it was weird. It was weird because obviously in middle school, it was Liverpool and Man United, really. Mainly Liverpool. They were the dominant force back then. But yeah, I'm kind of regretting having that surname right now, the way we're going. Do you know what I mean?
God, you know, it could be worse. You could be, you know, Lee Darby or something like that, or even Lee Stoke for the moment. Yeah. So, and Gunner Bang, your YouTube channel, which, you know, when I first saw it, I just assumed it was porn, but and actually, and I've never encountered a person who's ever had a problem with your YouTube channels. I know it must be weird just kind of having everybody, you know, behind you all the time, 100% positive feedback. But so how did that get started?
Well, it's quite funny actually because I've been on Twitter for a long time now, and obviously anybody who knows my account or knows me knows that I'm a massive Wenger out and have been for a long time. And at the point when I set up my channel, Twitter was only 140 characters. And I thought, rather than sitting there spamming people's timelines with like 10, 15 tweets back to back, why don't I set up a channel? So I did. And I've got to be honest, I've had it on the 12th of April. So what are we in now? 1st of April. 11 days from now, it's officially a year since I uploaded. So it'll be the first anniversary. And I'm overwhelmed how mad it's gone because, I mean, I'm not far off 11,000 subscribers, which is unbelievable. But like you said, it's the feedback I get on it. Like 99.9% of the comments I get on each video are positive and respectful and in agreement with what I'm saying. Not just negative, but the positive stuff I say as well, or the tactical side of the game or like team selections I pick. So yeah, it is a nice feeling to have that many people on board, and Twitter's the complete opposite.
Yeah.
You go on Twitter and it's just all negative, negative, negative. So yeah, it is nice to have a bit of a balance with one being completely negative and the other one being completely positive. So
keeps you centered in your life.
To be honest with you lads, I don't. Obviously, I do read the comments because obviously I wouldn't know if there was any positive or negative, but I've got to admit, all the hate, if it's positive hate in terms of non-abusive, then and it's constructive, then cool. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. But it's when it crosses a line, that's when I just ignore. I don't even bite. It's just pointless. You just end up winding yourself up.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta have a filter, and if you pay too much attention to what everybody says all the time, although we never ever get any haters, so I mean, you know, it's easy for us. We just read everything, but
no one listens.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
See, Lee, if you don't want haters, you just have no listeners. I will say this before we move on to the match. Like, the one reason that I really like Lee is, like, I feel like and again, we have some friends who are on Arsenal Fan TV, and we've talked about it in the past, but they feel like some of those guys, they create a character, and so that there's pure bants around those dynamics. And like with you, Lee, like we're in text message chains together, followed each other on Twitter for a long time. Like you're just you. Like it's how you feel. I've listened to you on the Guna Talk a lot, and it's never something different. It's always the same thing, and you're not pushing your agenda. You're pushing your opinion, and that I think is, a lot of people just love to hate because they see all this other stuff happening, and they want to shit on people who are doing well for themselves and who have followers and have this voice, and you don't seem to.
No, I agree, and thanks for that. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
they want those dozens of quid for themselves. They don't want you to have it.
See, the thing is, like, I just say what I feel, and sometimes, I mean, I put a video out there about Hector Bellerin, and like on reflection, I probably did go way over the top, but at the time, I was on one, and it just all came. It wasn't premeditated, it wasn't pre-planned. I just clicked record on my iPhone, and it just all came out, and I didn't even watch it back. I was like, right, I'm uploading it. And then when I watched it back after I uploaded it, I was like, oh man, I went a bit too deep. But it was just like, again, the difference between social media is if you go and have a look at that particular video, I've had over 1,100 comments, of which over 1,000 are pure and utter like love and agreeing. But then once it was put on Twitter, then it's the complete opposite. So, it's a bit. I just look at it and I just feel like I could sit there and say Arsene Wenger's the greatest manager in world football ever. Yeah, we've got the best team in the world. Yeah, it's unlucky. Somebody like Ty, for example, I love that guy. He's such a nice geezer. But he's the most positive Arsenal fan on the planet, even when we're getting spanked. Yeah, and people even hate on him. Right. So then if you flip that the opposite side, and then when we lose badly and I go off and have a rant, yeah, that's just me saying what I see. But then I get hate for, oh, well, you're going over the top and it's negative. So just say what you want to say. And if people agree, great. And if they don't, great. That's how I think it.
I think it shows up pretty quickly if you have a platform. I mean, we get the same thing in politics, especially we see it here in the U.S. all the time. People who speak their mind in a prearranged way based on what their platform is, rather than what they're feeling or experiencing anytime. There's no honesty involved. It's just serving a narrative that they've connected themselves to. And we've never been like that. We've had our negative days, we've had our positive days, we've had our ambivalent days, because that's what we're feeling at the given time. And I think that over a long period of time that shines through, whether you're
definitely,
whether you're really believing in what you're saying or not. So, again, props to you, and
thanks, guys. Cheers.
Like you or hate you, you're doing your thing, and if people didn't want to watch it, they wouldn't.
Yeah,
exactly.
So let's talk about Arsenal Stoke. I was a bit gutted to see that Arsenal's season continued, because this is the first game since I came back. I just assumed they would cancel the rest of the season and invite me back over to get things started back up again, but whatever. Lineup comes out, and it's a pretty unique one. I don't think we've seen this lineup before, and it's a combination of resting players who played a couple times over the international break, keeping some people fresh for Thursday's game, trying not to blow our wad against a team that we, in theory, should have been able to put away pretty early. Checks out of the game with a surprise pelvic injury. Now, I don't remember hearing about this until before the game, and we rarely do. But when I get pelvic injuries, they're usually accompanied by a sprained wrist. But his was just a pelvic injury. So we see Ospina in his first Prem game in a year or so. And, of course, he immediately gets a clean sheet, something Czech's been going after for a year. But the back four is pretty much what I thought it would be. I was glad to see Koscielny rested for Chambers, who I think, again, did a job today. I was kind of hoping to see Mainsley in place of one of the fullbacks, considering how he's been playing lately. But given, Andy, that both Bellerin and Nacho got 90 minutes today, is there a chance Mainsley gets a start on Thursday? And I'm just going to call him Mainsley from now on. I like that. On Thursday.
I don't think so. I think we still go in with the strongest lineup, and then if we do the business second leg, maybe he'll get run out. I think he played matches for the England under 20 U23, so that probably had a say in it. But you're right. I mean, this lineup was a little strange, and it's probably why we started off terribly flat. We always do after international breaks. It's another reason that we always kind of echo that sentiment that Arsenal doesn't get them ready post-international, and it's always terrible watching us coming back. But yeah, I assumed we'd see Lacazette. I assumed we'd see Xhaka and Mkhitaryan. But from the lineup, you know what? You got to use your depth. The league's pretty much out of reach, so why not? Give the guys who need a rest, and then they got a little time to come in and get their legs warm for the trip on Thursday.
Yeah, and El Neni gets a start after renewing his contract. Like we said before, it is Passover, so this time of year we're a little shaky when it comes to Egypt and everything. We don't have great memories of Egyptians, but hey, time heals all wounds. We love Egypt now. We love El Neni. I'm happy for him about the contract. Anyone hear what the wages are though? Because he extended for 2 years. He was on 55 a week. He's a great depth player, in my opinion, to be part of our squad. But I certainly don't know that he's an 80, 90, 100,000 pound a week player. But Lee, do you know anything about what the terms of his extension were?
I've got to admit, I haven't. And I echo what you just said. I think he's a good player that's not a starter every week, but definitely a good squad player. And let's be real here. He's not going to be the midfielder that's going to win you a title, but at the same time, he might be the midfielder that wins you a cup, or gets you into a final like he did when we played Chelsea in the second leg at the Emirates.
Or it could be good enough to get you past a team like Stoke or Southampton or something.
Well,
when you need
exactly. He's a good player. I think a lot of people that pick on him as not good enough is what they come out with. Is they just look at the price tag. If he cost £55 million and he was playing every single week, then everyone would be going and giving him a pass every week. So I think to me he is what he is. He is a £5 million player that's happy not to play every week, but when he does play, he will give everything. And you need them kinds of players in your squad. So when you do have 4, 5, 6 injuries, which Arsenal do get in one hit, you have a player like that can come in and he is comfortable doing the job in that position. So, yeah, for me, I'm happy he's signed. I rate him. I've always rated him since we signed him. Since I see him the first couple of games, I thought he's quite a good player. So yeah, but in terms of what he's getting paid, I have no idea. I can't imagine it'd be a great deal more than what he's on, if anything more at all, to be honest.
I would hope not. I would think not. And the one other part of El Neni, and I'm not saying this wins you championships, but he's a good character, pretty good with the banter on social media, and
especially when he's mugging Sanchez off.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's when I fell in love with the guy. But he seems to really know how to play the game, and I could see him being a pretty popular figure in the dressing room. Do you know
what he comes across as? He comes across as the model professional. That's how I see him. You're not going to see Mohamed El Neni. I know he's a Muslim and they don't drink alcohol, but you're not going to see him out partying until 3 a.m, whether he's drinking or not. You're not going to see him doing anything that he shouldn't be doing and being plastered all over newspapers. He isn't that type of character. He seems like a quiet guy. You never really hear him speak much. And yeah, he seems a bit of a joker, a bit of a character. So, like you said, they're always good to have in the squad. And he never moans. Yeah, that can work one way or the other. That could mean that he don't really care and he's not going to try and push himself to get into the 11. But on the other hand, that could be, well, he knows what type of player he is. He's living the dream, and he'll give everything when he does get into the team. So,
yeah, you see on the pitch when he's out there that he does care.
He does, yeah, he does, and I think he is again today. I thought he was decent today. There wasn't that many standout performers for me today, especially in that first 70 minutes. But I thought he was one of the better players in that first 70 minutes.
Yeah, and you mentioned, in the first 70 minutes, literally nothing to talk about. That's not going to stop us, of course. But, the crowd seemed mostly dead. The team seemed dead. The commentators here in the States were absolutely murdering Arsenal for their lack of industry and their insipid tactics. But, Lee, you had a special guest with you for today's game, I believe. Someone broke their Arsenal duck today?
Yes. I took my 8-year-old daughter, Savannah, with me. it's funny because she sits there, and I've been trying, and like when we're watching games on TV, like Spanish football or other Premier League games, she's always asking me like, "Oh, which team's that one, Dad? And what team's playing in blue, Dad, or whatever?" Yeah. And I said to her, "I'm going to take her to a game." And she's like, "No, I don't want to go to a game. Don't want to go to a game." So in the end, I've managed to drag her to a game, and I've got to admit, right, all the way down there, like she was happy, she was buzzing, she was really looking forward to it in the end, and I was sat there at half time, and I was just thinking, "Oh my God, I thought
what have I done?"
Game, yeah, there's no way in a million years she's ever going to want to come to another football match after witnessing that. She was cold, she was bored. Do you know what I mean? And then, second half, obviously we got the result in the end, and we see the 3 goals, and yeah, now she wants to go again. So yeah, it was a bit of a mixed feeling, because seriously, at half time in that game, I was thinking, wow, she's never going to want to go to a football match again. She's going to want to like play with makeup and dolls and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
She's going to become Millwall.
yeah, or Derby County.
So did Savannah Gunner? I mean, is that her name for real?
No, she's got her mum's surname.
So you were 2 out of what, 15,000 people at the Emirates today?
Seriously, it was bad today. I mean, where I stand in North Bank, and we got told to sit down 4 or 5 times in the first half, and all season we've not been told to sit down. But because it was so empty, and there was like literally the row in front of me, there was 5 seats in front of me, all empty. Then there was one guy on his own. Then there was another 5 empty. So out of 11 seats, only 1 was taken. But everyone stands in them.
I usually have to buy a pack of 11 seats just so that I don't bump into anybody.
That's just to get your wallet in there, Mike.
Oh,
but yeah, we were told to sit down so many times today, and like, I understand what the stewards have got to do, and and to be fair, the 2 stewards that work that entrance and that block, they're sound. They're really nice guys. They're never a drama, but because there were so many different faces there today that wouldn't necessarily be there if we were doing better. Row 27, there was 4 people sat down, or whatever row it was, and they're then moaning that the 26 rows in front are all standing. So then the stewards have made the whole 26 rows sit down, rather than making the 4 people stand up. I get why they've got to do it, but yeah, it was a really. Do you know what it felt like? It felt like it was just an end of season dead rubber, or a pre-season friendly.
Yeah,
the crowd
Emirates Cup early game on the first day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the crowd was. I'd say there was at least 15,000 empty seats there today, at least. But then on top of that, nobody wants to sing. You start singing. I mean, the Rocky chant that went around at 7 minutes.
I'm about to ask you about that. It lasted 33 seconds.
Exactly.
And I was like, did they turn the volume down on my television, or did they really stop halfway?
I must admit, I felt embarrassed, and I was stood there. I did it for the whole minute. Yeah, and the guys around me, credit to them as well. And the guys around me, they've been there for years with their season tickets, and they're about my age, maybe a little bit older, and they did it as well. But yeah, it was poor, really poor, and I thought disrespectful as well, because there's a lot of Arsenal fans don't want to go into the history of Arsenal players or anything pre-Arsene Wenger. And that winds me up. I mean,
but there are some things that are sacred, and this is sacred every year.
Exactly. Yeah, but you know what? It's no coincidence that last year Arsenal didn't even put anything in their programme about it, but this year they suddenly did after everyone moaned last year. So
I was over there last year. It was Man City on April 2nd. So it was, a couple days after the Rocastle day, but it was the first match. It was the Rocastle match. And I mean, that day was kind of a disaster in many ways. There were fights kicking off on the concourse, that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was there, so I was looking in the in the game program. Didn't see anything. Didn't really see a lot on social media about it. It was almost like it just didn't exist last season.
Just blew over.
I asked this morning to just take a peek at the program, let me know. I did notice a lot of Twitter references to Rocastle yesterday from Arsenal, which was the day of the actual.
Do you know what I think blew it up more so this time round is some idiot on social media, and I will call him an idiot. he tweeted something he shouldn't have tweeted, which was completely bang out of order, to Alan Smith, ex-Arsenal player, obviously.
Right.
And I think Lee Dixon might have been tagged in that as well. And that was a couple of nights ago, and that sort of blew it up. And then everybody on social media then realised, oh, wow, it is actually the anniversary. But I must admit, this time round, it seemed like, on social media, it seemed like more and more people realised this year. But at the ground, you're still getting funny looks. I mean, I didn't go last year for the Man City game, but I remember people saying that, like, people were telling you, like, can you, what are you doing? Who's Rocastle? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah. I mean, it almost is like, they don't even understand what the chant is, and so no one's joining in. And
I think that's down to the club.
They should be putting a picture of him on the big screen at the 7th minute.
Exactly.
It eats me up a little bit. But,
I must admit that the flags behind the goal at the North Bank today, they all had Rocastle number 7 and a picture of him on the flags, right? And they were waving the flags before kick-off, and obviously they wave them on the goals and stuff. But even today, I mean, there was people sat in front of me today that when we're standing up and we're singing the Rocastle song, people are looking back as if to go, like, what are you doing? Like, and mate, I think the club need to do more in terms of highlighting who he is, what he's done for Arsenal, what he was as a man, as a player. Yeah, mate, just talking about him it just brings a smile to my face. Do you know what I mean? I was only a kid when he was playing football. Yeah, but that guy, yeah, he was such a nice geezer. Everything I've watched, the righty documentary, the Rocastle and Wright documentary, and like everything you read about him, everyone who speaks about him, they say exactly the same thing. He was just such a lovely geezer. And then when you watch him play and you watch the old clips of his goals and his passing, etc., what a player, man. And I think Arsenal need to do more in terms of highlighting that to the people that maybe don't know so much about him or don't.
And not just him either, but I mean, others of that era. But, of course, we've got the age-old conflict of a lot of those people are speaking out against Arsene Wenger now, so they're almost not
exactly.
allowed to.
I'll give you a quick example. Obviously, that Kevin Campbell was in the pub the other week. I think you was there.
And again today. Yeah, I was there a few weeks ago. I was there again today.
Against Watford. Yeah, and he was in the pub again today. I'll give you a quick example. Right after that Watford game. The other week, he was chatting away, and I was talking away to him. Me and my mate, we were standing there chatting away to him, and he asked me. He goes, "Where would Lee Judges be?" So I was like, "Cool, don't worry, I'll take you up there. I'll know where it's being filmed and all that, blah blah blah." Right. So we're down near the Armoury, and the game's finished, obviously. So there's still people pouring out. Not many people because most of them had already gone.
Yeah, they were telling us that he walked through unnoticedly, pretty much.
Yeah, literally. I've walked up the stairs with him. We're having a good old chat walking up the stairs. And the only person who noticed him was Troops. And we must have walked past, like, I don't know, 100, 120 people. Not one single person recognised Kevin Campbell. And I was just stood there. I even said to him, I said, I can't believe not a single person's recognised you, mate. And he went, well, that's Arsenal for you now.
That's what happens when you switch from a 35,000 seat stadium into a 60,000 seat stadium,
exactly. And I think it's just pure ignorance from people, man. I mean, the other week, I think it was against Red Star Belgrade a couple of months ago. I came out the ground, and Paul Davis came out of one of the exits as I'm walking past, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's Paul Davis!" I was like, "You're a legend, bro." Yeah, and he was like, "Oh, thanks, man. Cheers." And it was just like such a surreal moment.
You had them all to yourself, though. That's the bright side.
You know what I mean? I just think a lot of. I don't want to call them new school fans because I think that's a little bit disrespectful. But I think a lot of fans are so ignorant to anything before. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think they want to know about the older days. And it's not so much the new school fans because there's a lot of older fans that ain't interested. I think the way football's gone, not just with Arsenal, but in all grounds now, a lot of fans just go there just because they can get tickets and they can take a client. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, oh yeah, I'll take you down the Arsenal for the weekend. Yeah, and we'll go and watch a game. Yeah, and they'll strike a deal while they're in the ground or something for work or whatever. So a lot of them are not really there because they support the club how we do. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, well, we got to figure out ways of changing that, but it's hard to change that when that's paying for the for our annual income every year,
Exactly.
having all those people. So Stoke, back to the game a bit. I thought Stoke over the last couple of years was trying to change their squad from being a rugby team to a flair team. I mean, they brought in Shaqiri from Munich, Affolay from Barcelona, Hesse from PSG and Real Madrid, Bojan from Barcelona. Berahino is supposed to be the best thing since sliced bread. Joe Allen was supposed to be the Welsh Xavi. Charlie Imovic and Ryan Shaw-Crosinho. I mean, what happened with their project? Because they suck. I mean, I love it, but it's an absolute joke. Andy, on a scale from 9 to 15, how happy are you that Stoke look like they're getting relegated this season? Andy, wake up.
Sorry, I put myself on mute. I was just talking to myself.
He fell asleep listening to me waffling on.
No, I said 15. I mean, we have a history with this club, but at the end of the day, like I appreciate good football, and Stoke have never played it. And so to see them struggling, to see them invest all this money is just absolutely, it's great. And the one thing I'd love to do, Mike, is when they go down, I'd love on their way down to make a phone call and say, hey, we'll take your keeper. What do you need for him? Because I think he's a great young English keeper. I think that he's better than Ospina, and he played well today. But absolutely,
there's got to be some clause about his
relegation
him
clause,
being a lot
for
cheaper
sure.
if they get
absolutely, because he's English. I'm sure that's in there. But it's great to see that team faltering. I've never met a Stoke supporter that I've liked. So it's great to see them struggle.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get relegated at this point. 2 years from now, they'll be playing Sunderland in League One. Again, Ramsey takes a knock in the 18th minute, goes down, and you can loudly hear over the television from 3,000 miles away, Aaron Ramsey, he walks with a limp. And, I mean, you're going down, you fucks. I'm going to have a laugh. Just fuck off, miserable inbred pieces of garbage. I like a grand total of one Stoke supporter, and he's a brand new Stoke supporter, and that's only because his son is just breaking into the team. So, sorry, Kev, but I have no love for Stoke, and this is going to be – I'll be heartbroken if they stay up this season because I'm just ready for this.
Everyone is.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
So the first change is made exactly at the hour mark, which is, 10 minutes ahead of schedule. And it's the long-awaited return of Alexandre Lacazette. And thankfully, I was praying that he wasn't going to take Aubameyang off for like, but he comes in for Welbeck, who apparently is now back to being a bang average player. So we get to see Auba and Lacazette together for maybe the first of an extended run. Welbeck apparently was injured. I'm not exactly sure the nature of the injury, but I'm a little bit worried because if he can't play on Thursday, who's going to score all of our goals against Magba?
Well, Lacazette should be ready to go. Yeah.
So, Andy, did that substitution, that moment in the game change everything tactically, energetically? I mean, was the game just different from that moment?
Yeah. I think Lacazette, when he came on, there was just – so – I like Welbeck. I don't think he's good enough for us, But with Lacazette, there's just way more movement. We talk about it a lot. Defenders are tired that last 20 minutes. He's in there running about. Aubameyang looked like he was doing a little bit more leg work out on the wings as well. I think it kind of revitalized. I think the stadium. Now, Lee, you could probably speak to this. They're probably excited to see Lacazette back on the pitch.
He got a massive cheer. It lifted everyone. To be honest.
So you've got all those little variables at work for you. But I was hoping when I saw him on the bench that we would see him come on for Welbeck, and I think he's the guy. I think this run out was good for him, and I'm sure he'll be ready to go to Moscow and do some damage. And if Welbeck is healthy, I would pick him over Iwobi to be on that left-hand side, just because I think he is a bigger threat out there, and he's done business for England. But yeah, it was a total wake-up call. It was great to see him back. And
I would pick Lee Gunner over Iwobi.
And the best thing about it, Mike, is if the injury forced the hand to bring Welbeck off, at least Arsene got to see 20-ish minutes of what a Lacazette-Aubameyang partnership could do for us. And, at first maybe you're not a believer, but after you see that, you got to wonder, hey, what could they do? If you give them some more time. And let's think about it too, Mike. A lot of the supporting roles weren't really there for a lot of that time either. So give them 90 minutes with the supporting cast of a Xhaka and a Mkhitaryan to find passes from deep. Could be real dangerous. It's exciting.
Yeah, and I think Wenger after the game had two things to say with regards to these guys. One is that he can envision seeing these two guys play together quite a bit for the rest of the season, which, it's a no-brainer. He's not a genius for figuring that out. I would have liked to have seen it sooner, but, the injury got in the way. But the other is that he still thinks Lacazette may be short of match fitness. He said he looked good in training, and I read this right before we went on the pod, but that he may not start against Moscow. Which, that would be a little alarming. If you really can't do more than 30 or 40 minutes, then you don't want those to be the first 30 or 40 minutes of the game. So I get that. But, if Welbeck is hurt and Aubameyang can't play and he doesn't start Lacazette, are we going with the false nine or what are we doing?
You could throw Eddie up there. You know what?
I wouldn't mind doing that. Actually.
No, I think we could. Welbeck will be fine for midweek, and I'm almost certain that Lacazette. I think this comes into the mind game scenario. He
plays too many mind games when it comes to Lacazette for my liking.
Well, no, I think it's a press mind game for Moscow, how they're going to set up, how they're going to defend. I'm not sure if they're in season right now, so they probably are sitting around doing a lot of tactical design for how they go into the match. So, throw out random quotes, but I bet Lacazette will start midweek.
Okay, well, let's hope so.
Is Thursday considered midweek, or is it
mid to late week now?
It's the weekend.
Weekend. So, Lee, let's talk about the penalty. We finally start to see Arsenal breaking down Stoke in the 71st minute. There was this mad flurry in front of the clock end goal. I don't know how much you were able to see of it from your vantage point on the other side of the stadium, but it almost results in us bundling one in. And then, Lee, your buddy Mesert, your other favorite player in the team, puts Aubameyang through with an outstanding through ball. Unbelievable.
It was a great pass, to be fair. He should have scored.
And the defense, they finally look, like they're stretched out as much as the last person Lexington Steele made love to. And then 3 minutes later, the deadlock is broken. Again, at the other side of the pitch, Lee, but, I would imagine maybe you've seen a replay by now. But to me, I could see it being called. I could see it not being called. There was contact, but there was kind of like Ozil slowed down and got run into from behind. You can't fault him for being in position, but I don't know if he was exactly hacked down the way that he made it appear. But I was happy to see it called. Lee, what did you think of the penalty?
I have seen it back, and one thing that makes me laugh with Arsenal fans, is if that happens.
See what we want to see.
If that happens against us. Everyone's up in arms. They're tweeting the FA saying it's out of order and there's an agenda against Arsenal. But if it happens for your team, it's all good. Yeah, and let's be real. If we hadn't have got that penalty, we probably wouldn't have won the game. So, yeah, I'll take it. It's against Stoke. I'll take anything against Stoke because I want to beat them. But for me, it wasn't a penalty. I can see why it was given, but at the same time, if you're giving penalties for that, then you'll end up with 5-6 penalties a game.
Yeah, and I don't know that I agree that we wouldn't have gone on to win if we hadn't gotten that penalty, but given the firepower that we were bringing on and the way we started clicking, but it certainly helped. It opened up the game, but I don't know. I try to be as unbiased as I can, and I oftentimes even start with a negative bias where I just assume that we got lucky, and then I start to try to figure out why we didn't because I don't want to be biased. And yeah, I don't think that one should have been called, but I can understand someone who would argue that it would. Certainly makes up for the inches offside call against Stoke in the first game. Exactly. So now we can consider ourselves even. what did you think of? Andy. Sorry, I got lost here. Andy, other than from bed, what was your view of the penalty? And how nice is it to know that we've got two stone cold penalty takers finally to choose from?
Yeah, it's nice. My view of the penalty, I agree with Lee. I'm not sure that it's a pen, but I think 100% Ozil knew what he was doing. I think Ozil knew once he got into the box there were two men closing on him, and if he put his leg out, a challenge would be coming. I don't think he was going to dive. But I think he knew if he had stuck his leg out, he was going to be taken down, and and that's what he did. He trailed his foot, and I think that's how smart he is as a player, to be honest with you. But it's one of those where
smart like Kane and Alley.
Yeah, if it goes against us, we're pissed. If it goes for us, we're happy. But it's one of those just weird ones, right? I mean, you see him not called, you see him called, but there's so much gray area in that rule, but I think Ozil knew what he was doing.
Yeah, probably so. And it used to bug the shit out of me when Nani would do that flip after he scored after a goal. For some reason, it's not bothering me as much when Aubameyang does it. But seriously, am I the only one, given our luck with injuries at Arsenal, would it surprise you in the least against Southampton, Aubameyang gets a hat trick and on the third flip, he just explodes his ankle, botching the landing.
Do you know what? When the first time he did that, when he actually did that the other week, I said to my mate, he's going to do that at some point, and he's going to fall down, and he's going to break his ankle.
Yeah, or he's going to land. He's going to land on Mustafi or something, and it's going to. It's going to happen. It never happens to anyone else, but it's going to happen, and we're going to lose.
Exactly.
So at that point, I'm thinking two things. First, I realized that Aubameyang has scored and we're likely going to win. And, these days, that's guaranteed money. And then second, when we bring in Xhaka and Mkhitaryan in the 75th minute, I actually said to the lovely woman who I was watching the game with, it was my wife, I said, this one could end up 3-0. She was sleeping, but I still said it to her. And I'm fucking Nostradamusburg. It just seemed like we were gonna press on from there. We started hearing the home supporters vocally over television into the "You're going down" chant, which I love that when it's not us going down, which we never have. But there can't be anything more humiliating than traveling 2-3 hours, having to sit there, hear people taunting you about being relegated, and having to think they're probably right. Lee, were you able to? Was there some disgust going on from Stoke, or are they used to this at this point?
Let's be honest here, right? They can still stay up.
I know.
So, and every single part of me wants them to get relegated, and the way they're playing, I can't see them staying up. But wouldn't it be ironic if they stayed up? Do you know what I mean? After all the abuse, after all the shit they've done over the years, the Ramsey thing and all that. To me, I want him to go down because I echo what Andy said earlier about Butland. I think he's fantastic, and I want us to just go, yep, we'll have him. Here you go. Thank you. See ya.
Well, he's not the only player that's going to be picked off of that squad.
Well, this is the thing. They've got a lot of. I think they've got a lot of half decent players there. Mm-hmm. I think Shaqiri on his day is brilliant. Yeah, and I think he could do a lot better than Stoke. And I think other players they've got there are all right. But they're all on big wages. And I said to the guy sat next to me today, I said, if Stoke go down, they will not be coming back. They will go down again. Yeah. Because they'll get stripped apart. All them players will be gone. They'll be financially ruined. And they won't be able to go and get the top players or the players that they've got now. Let's be real, they're punching above their weight with some of them players. Yeah, and
a lot of them, yeah. It hasn't made much sense, their transfer policy over the last couple of years.
Exactly, and I think if they go, they'll go down again. They'll do a Charlton and go back to back or something like that. But yeah, it was funny because it was great standing there singing that and saying you're going down, all that. It was good banter, do you know what I mean? But
did Savannah join in that?
Do you know what the best moment of the day was? Is when she said, "Dad, we've scored again." Yeah, when we scored the second goal, and it was just hearing "we've scored again."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I've now fully sucked you in. You're now a gooner. Yeah, that was the best part.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It might not even have. I'm not sure I would have picked up on that, just because I'm so used to hearing that. But that is a big deal.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, but no, I hope they go down. I mean, like, listen, like, we're not the greatest team in the world. We can all accept that, right? But what they do and the way they do it is just disgusting. Some of the stuff they do. I mean, today they were rolling around on the floor. And I picked this out earlier. The referee stopped that game 3 or 4 times for a non-head injury.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it's like, why are you stopping it? And that's just some of the stuff they do, which is why I want them to go, because it is anti-football. Yeah, they're so dirty as a football team. And
then handbag situation towards the end where I mean,
it was just ridiculous.
That there were 2 just challenges meant to injure that led to that whole thing.
And the thing is, I can't remember who it was that pulled Xhaka away. I'm standing there going, you do not want to mess about with an Albanian. Yeah, it's just like, get him out of there because it will cause a madness.
The Albanian side of him comes out and the Swiss side goes away. Exactly. So 80th minute, we see Peter Crouch on, and the only reason I'm mentioning him is because I was dying to see a side-by-side of him and Nacho and it's impossible because they have the exact same face. I mean, they actually share.
Sure, I get told I look like both of them as well.
Well, that's not the most complimentary thing.
Well, I'm tall and skinny, and I get told I look like Peter Crouch. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So I didn't get what I was looking for there. I looked close up, but 85th minute, Bellerin passes to Ozil, who's clearly to everyone other than Bellerin in an offside position by quite a bit. And after that, we get treated to about 5 or 10 seconds of Ozil just jawing at Bellerin pretty sharply. And I'm no lip reader, and I can't speak whatever. I mean, I'm sure they were talking in English. Looked like "fuck off," but.
Do you want me to tell you what he said?
Sure, if you know what he said.
Yeah, I know what he said. He said, "Fuck off," and then Bellerin's obviously said something back, and then Ozil's gone, "You talk too much." And then I haven't seen what Bellerin said back. It was only the footage of Ozil speaking that I've seen.
Said, "Do you like my hair?"
Yeah, and then he's gone, "You talk too much," and then he said, "I'll see you inside. Wait till we get inside."
If that is what he said, that's pretty incredible. I mean, I like the fact that Ozil was jawing at him. I mean, I don't want to see disharmony between the team, but I want to see, Andy's been on a crusade to see people being held accountable for making bonehead decisions, and Xhaka was held accountable by Jack for that bonehead shot at the end of the first Milan game. I mean, I think that needs to happen. I mean, you don't want to see the team just constantly having strops at each other on the pitch, but when it's right, it's right. And that was just, Ozil wasn't waiting for the ball there. He was going to circle back and get back into position. But for you, Lee, I mean, when you see 2 guys that you have the love for that you do for Mesut and Hector, I mean, who do you root for in that one?
I've got to admit, Ozil's been all right this season, but Hector, listen, I don't hate any of the players. Yeah, I get extremely pissed off at the players, but to me, Hector Bellerin is not a footballer. I just don't get it. I just don't. I've said it before. If you take his pace out of him and take the pace away, he is a League One footballer. Yeah, that is how I feel about him. Yeah, and he can't cross. He can't defend. His positioning is woeful. Every single movement when he gets forward is backwards. He actually shapes up to pass the ball backwards rather than shaping up to whip a ball in. And so I can understand why Ozil had a pop at him, but to come out with "you talk too much and I'll see you inside," I think maybe went a little bit over the top.
So I don't know. That's kind of. I mean, that doesn't seem that bad to me. I'll throw in a quick question. We had 2 questions. One of them is from both of them. Well, we have a lot of questions, but 2 questions from Schwinn, who's a regular contributor to our podcast and does the Clock End podcast. This kind of is in the moment here. Is there anything more annoying than Bellerin, arguably the fastest player on the pitch, not using his afterburners? Open space or not, the man looks for the square or reverse ball 9 times out of 10. Somebody remind him how pacey he is. And that pretty much echoes your comments that you've just made.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because, for me, I've grown up in an era where I've seen players like Overmars, and not just Arsenal players, but Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs is one of the best wingers of my lifetime. Yeah, and he used to get the ball down, spin, and just go straight at people. And you know, even now, I'm sitting there watching whilst I'm doing this. I'm sitting there watching highlights of some of the La Liga games, and I'm watching Gareth Bale just run rings around people. You know, and I'm not saying that Bellerin's in that level in terms of how good the players are, but in terms of pace, he doesn't utilise it anywhere near enough. And like Swin says, you know, he squares up to pass sideways or backwards. When he gets the ball down the wing, you just think, and don't get me wrong when I say I'm comparing him, like putting him in the Beckham bracket, but when you watch David Beckham back in the day, the ball would go out to Beckham, he ain't even taking a touch, he's whipping a ball straight in. And then you'd have Van Nistelrooy on the end of it, 6 yards out, tapping it in. Bellerin gets in them positions that Beckham used to get into, but Bellerin does this stupid little slow down, stuttery run to the ball, and then takes a touch and swears it back to Xhaka. He does it every single time.
Do you think that's confidence or lack of confidence?
No, I just think
lack of skill.
I think it's the fact that he doesn't trust his crossing. Because when he does actually put a cross in, it ends up in row Z.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you something from that from the Arsenal Supporters Trust meeting last month that Lee Dixon was in, and he was videotaped making some comments about Bellerin by that absolute piece of garbage that took the video. But I don't have any problem telling you that you know, he really, what he was talking about in that video was Bellerin's lack of you know, pushing the ball down the wings. Exactly what you're talking about. The fact that Bellerin's body positioning is constantly in a negative way rather than in a positive way, and that, you know, Dixon was getting on Steve Bold to coach him up a little bit and to tell him that he needed to do that. And this is the part that was videoed. He says, you know, tell him what to do. And Bold said,
exactly. And
Bold said, I do tell him. And Lee Dixon said, tell him again.
Well, that's the thing. If you're telling him and he's not listening, drop him. Because
you got a guy that's going to listen, waiting in the wings behind him. That, you know, in Mainsley, that I would like to see on there. I mean,
this is the thing as well, right? We can all laugh at Oxlade-Chamberlain, and say, you know, whatever you want about Oxlade-Chamberlain. When he played in that right wing back position, and I know it's a slightly different position because you've got 3 centre backs as opposed to 2. It's pretty much the same role. You're still getting up and down the right wing, right? Now, when Oxlade-Chamberlain played in that position, how many times did he kick the ball past the player and run past him? He used to do it all the time. Yeah. And he's nowhere near as quick as Bellerin. So, you know, and for me, if you're doing that and you're going past the player, you're then committing a centre-back out of position because the left-back's gone because he's out the game. So a centre-back gets dragged out, which opens up space for your Ramsey, your Ozil, or even your striker to run into. And then that then drags another centre-back across. All of a sudden, you've got an overload at the back stick and you're scoring goals. Whereas when you're getting it down the wing and taking a touch, going backwards, that enables everyone you're playing against just to get back into shape, get their 2 banks of 4. You
can see, like, if you pause the video when Bellerin gets the ball and look at the number of men the defense have behind the ball, and then fast forward it to the point where the next person has the ball.
Yeah,
there's 2 to 4 more people, defenders, that are back in between the goal and the ball every single time, and it's a little maddening. And Andy, I mean, on top of all that, the hair today. Today he had a man bun and a floppy ponytail, and he came out this week and said that he's been taking diet advice from Joey Murphy. So, I mean, your assessment, Andy, you can talk about his game today or his hair, your pick.
You know, the one thing that you teach a player with speed or a player without speed is to either hit it early, like Lee said with Beckham. Beckham's never going to go down the line and beat someone with speed and make it cross. He whips it in. When you have someone with speed, it's give and go. You have to utilize and really like hone in what you're good at. And I don't know if it's lack of coaching, but Bellerin just doesn't do it. And so to echo what you guys are saying, like this season has been real poor. And you know, you keep hearing about these niggling injuries that he has, and maybe that's part of it. But for me, I don't like all the off the field shit that I keep seeing on social media where he's posting these fucking fashion videos and how he's at all these events.
I like the stuff he's doing with fans. I mean, I think
no, and I get that.
But I agree
with the kids and stuff, yeah. But when you're not having the best season, don't fucking stand wearing a goddamn poncho with sunglasses on, half naked. You're a cunt. You know what I mean? Like, read the room and these guys have their own lives. I get it, but.
Yeah, but very sorry to cut you off. This comes back to what we were saying about El Neni earlier.
Yeah, you don't see El Neni in no fucking
You don't
poncho.
see El Neni doing any of this crap. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah. And so that's what frustrates me is his performance has been poor, and he's following up off the pitch with this bullshit. Now, I will say, back to the social media thing, he posted a funny picture of him in the locker room looking terrified, and the caption was, Ozil just walked in. So,
that's brilliant.
And he tags Ozil with a smiley face. So
fair play to that.
Exactly, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's holding each other accountable on the pitch, and if you're making a bad pass, if I'm Ozil and you're that quality of a player and you're getting paid this much money, you have to bollocks the player that's doing it. You have to let them know this isn't good enough, and we need more of that. We absolutely need more of it.
Do you think, like, just to butt in, do you think that certain players at the club, i.e. Ozil and Sanchez beforehand, I mean, everyone used to crucify Sanchez for some of the stuff he done, like throwing his gloves down and stuff like that. Do you think if that was Sanchez today doing that, instead of everyone giving Ozil love for doing it, if that was Sanchez, do you think he would have got the same love, or do you think that would have been, look at him, petulant child and all that?
It's a great question.
It's a great question, but I think when you look at the context, with Sanchez, it was kind of that we thought that everyone kind of knew he wanted to leave. His heart wasn't with the club. I think with Ozil extending, it's kind of that, as I said, we're looking for that leadership. We're looking for that accountability person on the field. So I feel like it's different. I think everyone sensed Sanchez's frustration, but then I also felt like, and I might be talking for the masses, I might be talking against it, but I felt like after a point, he was doing it for the cameras. He was doing it for the buzz.
Yeah, playing up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like in that moment, there were two players. They didn't give a shit who were looking, what was being recorded. They had that moment of, what the fuck were you doing? And the other one responded. And I think Sanchez knew, if I throw my gloves down right now after that goal goes in, someone's going to be watching me, and this is going to be on Sky Sports tonight, and everyone's going to love it.
I kind of agree with that, but don't you think, like, coming back to the Ozil thing, that we're winning the game?
Well, now, let me try to address that, because there are different leadership. There are different ways of leadership that work for some people and they don't, and it has everything to do, like Andy said, about context. I mean, you could have one person with a aggressive, angry, demanding type of leadership that works, and another person where people are just like, what the hell is this guy saying? I hate this guy. And it has to do with your personality on and off the pitch, has to do with your accountability, with your dedication to the cause. And, I don't think it had anything to do with the fact that we were winning. I think Mesut Ozil has demonstrated that he's here for the team. Obviously, look, $350,000 a week, I would be too. But I mean, he doesn't do this all the time. He doesn't throw tantrums and strops left and right all the time. And he legitimately had a beef with what Bellerin did. I mean, what Bellerin did was dumb. It cost them possession at an important time in the game. So
do you know what I quite liked about it was the fact that I've not been Ozil's biggest fan over the years, right? But this season, I think he's played rather well. I think he's been a lot better this season. Yeah, and take away assist stats and all that crap, because I don't buy into a square pass and pass accuracy and all that rubbish either, right? His stats are down in terms of assists and goals and whatever, right? But I think his all-round play this season has been a lot better than it has been when he was getting 19 assists or whatever he was getting. But I think the fact that he did what he did today, even though we were winning, I quite like that, because that shows he actually gives a fuck.
Oh, I think he gives a tremendous fuck.
I think it also
just doesn't show all the time.
And it speaks volumes. Lee, you kind of said it before, like, we're winning the match. Well, when City were beating us 3-0, Pep was on the sideline barking orders at the team. I want us doing that when we're winning. I want us to be pointing out the shitty passes, because that's going to change how Bellerin looks at the next match, and it's like,
too much comfort level with
exactly.
That kind
I
of
don't
stuff
want
going
it just to be when we're down 1-0 and everyone's pissed off. I want to see us doing this week in and week out, and I wish we saw it more from our midfielders. But at the end of the day, they probably gave each other a hug in the locker room, probably a sneaky little kiss, and they said, "Hey, we get better doing this with each other."
And they've probably had a good old chuckle about, right, we'll wind each other up on social media now, and then we'll call it a day.
But
and again, back to the Lee Dixon thing. Another thing he said, which was misinterpreted about Ashley Cole becoming the player that he was because of Tony Adams and not because of Wenger. Bellerin will become a better player, presumably, if he takes whatever Mesut Ozil said to heart, because Mesut Ozil's trying to help him, trying to have him make better decisions. That's what he meant. Is Mesut Ozil a coach? No, but the influence that he can have on a younger player like Bellerin is tremendous if he chooses to use it and if they choose to listen.
And I agree with that. And I think that when you've got a player that's as good as Ozil is, like technically gifted footballer, it must be kind of frustrating when you've got somebody like Bellerin, for example, who just doesn't do what you expect a player to be doing. And you're on a level ahead of them or 2 levels ahead of them, and you can see the picture before he does, yet he's got the ball. Yeah, and it must be so frustrating.
Well, especially when you're coming back from being in Germany with players that see that,
definitely. Yeah, and 99 times out of 100, they do finish the chances, and they do put their players in positions to score goals, whereas, maybe 20 times out of 100 we do it at Arsenal. But yeah, it must be kind of frustrating. But I don't know, like you said, if Bellerin takes it on board and actually goes, you know what, I think he's got a point, rather than sulking, then Bellerin will become a better player, definitely.
Or I will work harder to make sure that I don't disappoint him because he's a leader on our team, which would be great. I had no intention of spending this much time on that moment, but I think it was one of the key moments in a season, and I'm glad that we had that much talk about it. In the middle of there, Andy, Lee revealed that he was watching highlights from La Liga, and Andy, what is La Liga?
It's FIDA League.
Yeah. You know who that is. You know who that's aimed at, don't you, Lee?
Yeah, proper.
All right, so
bless him.
He has special needs.
One of the best sports.
Tom, if you're listening to this, you should really be in bed.
Yes, you should be. You have school tomorrow. Unless it's a bank holiday.
He actually doesn't.
Yeah, it's a bank holiday tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right. 86th minute, another set-piece goal from Arsenal, who's finally getting good at that again. This one a beautiful finish, incredible form and balance from Aubameyang, and now it's definitely guaranteed money. Andy, this guy knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. He does.
Yeah, and, Welbeck would have skied that, let's be honest. But great form. It looked like he was falling back a little bit on the goal. But, he's in the right position, right time. Absolutely incredible. And, for me, Aubameyang today proved that he is a very 100% a team player. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
I'm going to move on just to it.
Move on because it was 2 minutes later.
Yeah, but a lot of people, when he was coming from Dortmund, kept saying he's not for the team, he plays for himself, blah, blah, blah. Like what we saw today and what you saw after the match with his comments of, this guy's lacking confidence, I don't need a hat trick, let's get him a goal. It's just absolutely amazing because that his arrival probably was a kick in the balls to Lacazette. And hopefully Aubameyang said to him in confidence, like, let's do this together. And I think he proved that today. And you can't ask for more of a team player today than that. That was absolutely incredible what he did, because 99% of players, like Thierry Henry, he would never have done that. He would have taken that ball and been like, this is my hat trick.
Neymar's literally getting in arguments with his teammates over taking
exactly. And here we are having a struggling season, and we get the opportunity to see a player do that. I thought that was really cool.
Were you as soon as the penalty was called, and I mean, it's ridiculous for anyone who thinks that wasn't a penalty. The guy was basically trying out for the Oakland Raiders. On a nice pass from the vegan man bun, by the way. Let's give him his props. Maybe he learned something from a few minutes earlier. But were you thinking, I hope Lacazette takes this? Or,
I was actually, I
Yeah.
really was. I
Me too.
100%. Part of me was thinking, all right, Aubameyang's going to get it because it's the hat trick. But then when you saw him on the ball, I thought this is great because he did need that, and I think it's gonna do wonders for him. Plus, I got fantasy points.
Yeah, from that fantasy league that you were going to start at the beginning of this year. nice follow through. Lee, I mean, would you say it's a strength for a team to have like we've always gotten penalties and just looked around at each other and said, well, who's going to take it? And and then you end up with Theo Walcott taking it, missing it, and like in that Liverpool game last year. Now we've got two guys that can take it, but you kind of like for there to be a structure where everybody knows who the main penalty guy is when he's in. So that would be the only potential downside to this. But I mean, what were your thoughts when the penalty was called? Were you hoping Lacazette would get to take his own penalty?
I must admit, when we got the penalty, I was thinking this could be an Aubameyang hat trick, and I'm here to witness it. But then when I see him hand it over to Lacazette, I was thinking, oh, wow, fair play.
And that's the other thing I wanted to ask you. I didn't mean to interrupt, but in the U.S., basically, by the time the replays were done being shown, it was Lacazette holding the ball, getting ready to put it on the spot. So we couldn't tell whether the call came from the sideline, which I assumed it didn't.
No, it didn't. No,
whether it was Lacazette just grabbing the ball or whether there was
actually... said to him, you have
tell
it.
me.
Yeah, Aubameyang basically said, you're having it, and gave it over to him. So, but I've got to admit, when Lacazette's standing there with the ball, he's put the ball on the spot, I'm thinking, you now have to score.
Yeah. Because he misses that and we're back to square one.
You've just cost him a hat trick. Yeah, right. But no, fair play. And thinking about it after it happened, Aubameyang can't play in the Europa League. Lacazette can. Lacazette's last game before he got injured was Tottenham, and he missed that chance right at the very end of the game. So it was unbelievable what Aubameyang done in letting him have that, because he must have been so low on confidence after missing that chance against Spurs, and then he's injured and not played since, and then he's come back in. He's seen his guy who's fighting for the same position score 2 before that. He must have been thinking, oh my God, what is going on here? But for Aubameyang to let him have that and for him to score it, that shows you what Aubameyang's about. He's about, like, you score the goal, buzz yourself up, go into the Moscow game full of confidence, and we as a club, can win a tournament and we can win a European trophy. So, yeah,
it's amazing man management from Wenger, huh?
Well, it was actually Steve Bold, but yeah. But no, fair play. It was a great gesture, man, because, listen, Aubameyang's not going to top any goal-scoring charts over here this season. So, on that note, you can see why he gave it over, plus the fact, like I said, he's cup-tied from Europa. So, yeah, it was good. But one thing I will say is Lacazette actually put on his Instagram story, Laca's back or something, and then it was a picture of his shin. Yeah, and he's got this massive graze down his shin. He's obviously been stamped or studded or something. Jeez. So I'm thinking, wow, and it's like all bruised up around it and everything. It looked quite bad, to be honest. But you could see after Lacazette scored that penalty, there was a moment afterwards, a couple of minutes later, he got the ball and on the halfway, he took it down, just jinked past 3 players and got wiped out. So it definitely gave him a lift. And listen, if we can see both of them on the pitch more often than not, then we're going to cause a lot of teams a lot of problems. And if they're both banging goals in and they can get a partnership going, then, like Andy said a minute ago, Lacazette must have been thinking, right, this guy's come to take my spot. And then all of a sudden he's handing you a penalty when he could have scored a hat trick. That's great. That's great for Arsenal.
Shades of when Ian Wright came and Kevin Campbell thought his days were over until they got to play together and they started banging in the goals. So
And then he stopped passing to him.
Well, yeah, you didn't need to mention that, so the game winds down. The Rocky chants resume, which warmed my cockles, and game ends a rather flattering 3-0 win. With that win, Andy, we finally secured safety in the top flight for the 100th consecutive year. Should we call it Saint Stokingham Day, or does that just absolutely make us?
It doesn't really have a ring to it. That's what Tottenham would do.
Yeah, we pull a massive 5 points ahead of Burnley in the fight for Europa League football. What's going on?
I think I texted Tim, my neighbor, and said that the best thing about this is we pulled away a little bit from Burnley.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what did I just type, and why am I even remotely happy about that? Your man in the match for today, Andy. Who did it for you?
I thought Ramsey played fairly well. But I'm going to give it to Aubameyang, 2 goals, and then that just, the ability to give it away, I just speaks volumes for me. Not necessarily something he did on the pitch, but that's a teammate helping someone.
On the pitch when he did it.
Yeah, but that's a teammate helping someone, and so I like that.
Yeah. Lee, what do you think?
I agree. I thought Ramsey played all right. I thought El Neni did all right. Mustafi as well, I thought was half decent today. But I'm going to go with Aubameyang as well, because to pass up the chance of scoring a hat-trick when it's a penalty, a free kick, a free shot at goal from 12 yards, and you give that to a guy who's, let's be real, they're fighting for the same position. Unless we're drawing a game or losing a game, they're both going to start to come on together. So, yeah, I think Aubameyang, he scored 2 goals. The second goal was brilliant. And, yeah, I'm going with him, mate.
Mike, who's yours?
I'm going to just even it up a little bit and go with Ramsey. I mean, Aubameyang was the star of the last 20 minutes for sure, and what he did may be more important than being the man of this match, but maybe the man of the rest of the season for confidence purposes. But when I look at the first 50 or 60 minutes of the game, the only person I saw who really looked up for it was Rambo, and you can understand why. He almost got a goal in the first half, really the only opportunity that we had in the first half, put it on the roof of the net, and I was just really rooting for him to open the scoring. But he, when he's in the game, and he's looking pretty spry this season, he looks like he's enjoying his football. And so for me, he's the man of the match, with an honorable mention to Aubameyang. On the bench for Stoke, not getting into the game, Tyrese Campbell, 19-year-old son of Kevin Campbell. The only thing I feel bad about rooting for Stoke to get relegated is the impact it would have on him. Although, he could probably do a lot worse than a bunch of those guys holding the spots above him falling off of that squad and getting some regular playing time. And maybe a loan or a purchase back to the Premier League where he can kick on. But yeah, anything else to add about today's game before we move on? What?
I posted something in the Arsenal randoms of Canton, and I said, "Let's caption this picture." And Craig's.
Yes, I've been actually talking rather than looking at our WhatsApp group. But that's. Oh my God!
No,
He's starting to look like Hector Bellerin.
He is. That's what I was thinking.
I haven't even looked yet.
For me, it's nice for us to get...
Craig wins the day, by the way.
For me, it's that we got 3 points after an international break. As I've said, I think we always start really kind of light. It's good to go into the away trip, with that 3 points and some confidence. I think we're going to do well on Thursday. So.
Yeah, we usually start the after the break the opposite way that we ended. Like when we go into the break limping, like earlier this year when we lost to Manchester City, and then went into the break just absolutely at 6s and 7s, and then came out of the break and had the best game of the season, probably beating Tottenham 2-0. That was like the opposite of that. But usually it's just exactly what you expect. We get the opposite, and that's why I was worried about Stoke today. But for a good period of time, it was worth worrying about. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty positive about things if we have the opportunity to start our strongest players. But Europa's on Thursday, and we need to pound those guys so that we don't have to worry about going to Moscow too much.
Right.
Let's move on to some user questions. We have one from Sri the Gooner. It's about Jack Butland. How did Butland fare according to you? Would you have him in our team next season? And is it safe to assume Ospina will fall down every time someone puts a cross near him? Is he made of paper? First, we'll go to Lee for this, and then we'll ask our resident goalkeeper. I mean, we've kind of covered Butland already a little bit, but, what do you think of his game today?
Sorry, say that again. Butland, did you say? Sorry, it broke up.
Yeah, Butland, just a bit of a better keeper, I think, than Ospina. And how would you feel with him being
a bit of a better keeper? I think he's a lot better goalkeeper.
I was being sarcastic.
Personally, I think we should be all in for Butland in the summer. I rate him. There's a lot of decent goalkeepers about at the minute, and Butland, like I've seen him home and away this season. I see him at the Britannia, and I've seen him at the Emirates today. It was closer. I was closer to him at the Britannia, and I can tell you saying now, he feels that goal. He is massive. I don't know if that comes across when you're seeing it on TV or whatever, but the guy must be 6'5", and he is a big unit in that goal. And I think he's a very good goalkeeper. And if they get relegated, it'll probably cost a fraction of what it'll cost if they stay up. So, but either way, if you go and sign him, even if they do stay up, and let's say we spend, 30 million on him, if you're going to spend 30 million on him and you've got him for 10 years, and he does wonders for 10 years, it's worth every penny in my eyes. I think he's a fantastic keeper, mate.
See, based on what I've seen of the finances, I don't see us spending 30 million on a keeper, which is why any links to Oblak and some of these guys in Germany that aren't, the ones that are about to get relegated and probably in the same situation as Butland. I don't know that we spend 30, but I can't imagine. Well, Pickford last year got relegated and went for 35 to Everton, so I guess that's your model of what it'll be.
Yeah, I think he'll go for around the 30 to 40 million mark, but I do think if they get relegated, it depends how many teams come in for him, because there'll probably be a fight for him.
Yeah.
I mean, Chelsea are possibly losing Courtois. There's other teams out there that are searching for goalkeepers. I mean, both of our goalkeepers are not good enough, in my opinion. I think the goalkeeper we should have had in goal this season, he's playing for Juventus. So,
yeah.
But
no question.
If you can go and get a young English goalkeeper that is a very good shot stopper, feels the goal, not bad with his feet either. Yeah, and his decision making. I mean, Pickford, like you just touched on a minute ago, I mean, that guy must have faced more shots against him in the last 2 seasons than any other goalkeeper in world football. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, and he is a very good goalkeeper. And like you said, £30-odd million for Pickford. If you can pick a Butland up for £30-odd million, I think you've got yourself a bargain.
All right, and Andy, you're our resident goalkeeper.
No,
would you pay 35 for Butland?
Yeah,
given the other needs that we have.
No, absolutely, I would. I think that when you look at our spine, I would invest in our defense centrally, and I would invest in our keeper before anything else. I think we're pretty comfortable elsewhere. I do those two over a central defensive mid, honestly, because if we're going to leak goals in the back, what the fuck does a central defensive mid do? If you've got weak hips and a keeper and goal. But
plus we just nailed down on Nenny. So.
Yeah, but no, Butland for me I think Pickford's England's choice for the World Cup. I think Butland is going to give him a run for his money. You could throw Fraser Foster in there. There's a lot of really good young English keepers, but Butland has always kind of been on that radar, and I think he was superb today.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for the question. We have a new user questioner, Akil at Akers Arsenal 98. I'm a huge fan of Vic Akers, obviously.
He's a nice guy as well, that guy. He follows me on Twitter.
Does he? Okay, that explains where he's coming from. He asks, and then I'll give this to you, Lee. Is a lack of width and not having any recognized wide players a big problem in breaking down teams? And because I've never been accused of having a lack of width, Lee, you're quite a slender man. I was struck
only in certain areas, Mike.
I don't know. In our brief encounter after Newcastle, one of the things I came away with was wondering whether you're jeans are like size 20 or 24. I mean, you're a slender man. Opposite of me, but I'll go to you on this. What do you think about the wide players and maybe is that why 70 minutes can go by and we just don't really put a shot on goal?
Yeah, I agree with him. I think that, you know, if you look at Arsenal of old, we had them wide players. You know, we had Pires on the left, we had Ljungberg on the right, I suppose, although he'd float in and do what he wanted. But you had them wide players and they'd get down the wings. And now, I mean, we play a completely different formation to back then. But everybody does. But I was saying this to a friend of mine the other day. I think 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 will be making a comeback before much longer, because this 4-5-1 is just so anti-football. It's just everyone cancels each other out unless you're an elite football team, like a Man City, for example, that are just go and blitz anyone, doesn't matter what formation you play. But I think that it doesn't help that we play too slow. And I think that not having out-and-out wingers contributes to us playing slow. You know, when we played AC Milan away the other week, you know, Mkhitaryan was getting the ball down and running at people. He was literally just turning, and it was a throwback to an old school winger. He was just getting the ball down and jinking past people, and no coincidence that we absolutely took him apart in that first half. So for me, I think the formation we play doesn't suit out-and-out wingers. But if you change formation, there's definitely room for that in the Premier League. And I think it'll be making a comeback before much longer. And not only that, if you did have wingers, like I said earlier about Bellerin with his pace, you start dragging players out of position, which opens up gaps for central midfielders. And that's where the Ljungbergs of this world ghost in, or the Lampards of this world ghost in, and they'd get their 15, 20 goals a season. Fabregas is another one. He'd go and get 10, 15 goals a season by our wingers doing the job on the outside, which drags players out centrally, which frees up the space inside. And then they just ghost in and get 10-yard tap-ins left, right and centre. So for me, I don't know why football's evolved into this 4-5-1 and just playing with a one up front. I don't get it. I really don't. And when you're playing with the five in midfield, 9 times out of 10, they're inverted wingers. So they don't want to go down the outside. They want to cut inside every time, which makes the whole game narrow, which is so easy to defend against, especially if you're a lesser team, like a Stoke, for example, coming up against us today. They're not going to go toe-to-toe football-wise, so they're going to park the bus as such. So when you're playing inverted wingers, it's so easy to defend against. And until that changes, you know, Arsenal will still have this problem in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time.
How do they not know that in the dressing room before the game? I mean, tactics. Come on.
I think
it's
that
quite easy.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you look at the best coaches in world football, they adapt per team they play against. You know, Pep Guardiola, some of the stuff he does, you know, people can say, yeah, he's thrown £1 billion at it, this, that, and the other. But if you actually look at some of the stuff that guy does, I watched a 2-minute-long video somebody posted on Twitter the other day, and it was about how he, instead of making his left back and his right back stay high up out wide, he'd make them sit on the halfway line inside. So when you got broken against, they'd just nick in and nick the ball. So your centre-backs are protected, so you can't get broken easily because you've still got 4 there, but they're all central. So then you nick the ball, and that's how you press the team into the edge of their box. And then when you're playing with advanced wingers that stay out wide, you know, you're stretching the game. So then when the team are trying to break, you end up suffocating them. But, you know, Arsenal don't do that. Arsenal haven't got a coach or a manager to adapt per game. He just does the same thing every game. And until we get a manager that adapts per team they play against, I mean, very clear, I know nobody really likes Jose Mourinho, but if you look at what Jose Mourinho does, everyone can say he's anti-football and he parks the bus and this and that. They've scored a lot of goals this season because he adapts per team he plays. When he comes up against a bigger team, a City, an Arsenal, or a Chelsea, etc., he will completely change his tactics and he'll go, yeah, I'll take a 0-0. I'll take a 1-0. Yeah, I'll take a draw, whatever. But then when he goes up against the Swansea, when he goes up against the Stoke, he'll go with the Martial and the Lingard, yeah, and he'll go with the Rashford and the Lukaku or Sanchez, whoever, and he'll go with them attacking players that stay out wide and can cause problems because he knows that pace and width is going to affect the game. When you go up against a Liverpool, a City, you can't do that against them because they will punish you because their front four is better than your front four. So it's all about adapting to each game, and I don't think we do that anywhere near enough.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. So now, I don't know if you know this guy or not, but this is also a new questioner, but probably because he's a Manchester City supporter. Liam FC 200 is a new questioner. You know this guy? Or
I can't say it rings a bell, but then he probably does follow me, so
okay,
I'm going to say, yeah, I do know him.
Okay, well, it's like Lee at MCFC something. He seems rather obsessed with Scottish football as well. So he asks you specifically, what is your opinion on Celtic and Rangers, and are they as big as Arsenal and Tottenham? Is that a
wow?
As Lee Judges would say, is that a stupid question?
Do you know what? That's not a stupid question in a way. When it's said the way you read it out, it's like, actually, yeah, that's quite stupid, but when you actually analyse it...
Are you saying that my read of it was stupid?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was just... No, but when you actually analyse what goes into a Celtic Rangers game, and I'd love to go to one of them matches, but, you know, with the you know, obviously, Celtic are a massive football club, yeah? They're massive. Rangers are a massive football club. I know they've been absolutely decimated over the last 5 years, or whatever it is now. But Celtic are a big draw, and you've only got to look at how many fans both of them used to take away in European competitions. Even if they couldn't get tickets, they'll still take 40,000. They'll take over the whole city. You know, they're crazy, and they're crazy about football. But when I say it's not a stupid question, I'm going on the whole political side of it.
Right.
And, you know, the Catholic against Protestant and all that it's massive up there. And like I say, I would love to go to one of them games. It would be absolutely mad. But
we were looking into that. My friend Tom and I were looking into that because it was originally supposed to be the day before the Watford game, and then they moved it to the Sunday, so it was actually the morning of the Watford game. But we were heavily considering taking the train up, and it would have been an Ibrox, which is the less desirable for us of the two. But yeah. The Old Firm is something not to be missed. I mean,
do you know what? The only way I can answer that question is I can say, in terms of all the off-field side of it, it's bigger.
Yeah.
But in terms of the on-field side of it, currently, Arsenal Spurs is bigger. Even when they were, you know, both fighting before the Rangers got relegated and all that, you know, and come back up through all the divisions and whatever. But I'd still say Arsenal Tottenham on the actual football side of it is a bigger rivalry because of the way that Tottenham were good in the 60s, and then obviously Arsenal have just dominated pretty much ever since. But I don't know. It's a tough question because Rangers won loads of titles, then Celtic won loads, then Rangers won loads, then Celtic. It's a tough one, man. It is a tough question. I'm going to sit on the fence and get splinters up my arse on that one and say it's about the same.
All right. And wanted to say thank you to Schwinn with a second question and Morash as well. Just that came in a little late for us to include them in the podcast, but that's our user questions. We got 3 matches coming up in the next 10 days or so. Is Moscow Thursday and then the following Thursday?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and then we've got the Southampton match.
So it is home and then away. I thought it was away. I thought we were away first.
No, we're home first. And I was going to let that slide before rather than be the ultimate dick that I normally am. But yeah, we got Moscow at home, which I personally, I think we need to lay it on them and get 4 or 5 if we can, 3 or 4. I guess that's a little bit more realistic because I do not want that trip to Moscow next week hanging over our heads where it's even close, because that is not going to be an easy place to play.
No, especially on a plastic pitch as well.
No, and the Southampton match in between is a definite banana skin, absolute 100% banana skin. Home game, against a relegation side, but just one of these things where we're kind of in that.
No, let's be real, Mike. They're shit.
They're shit, but they're also
they're more than likely getting relegated this season. So
they're one of our bogey teams as well. And look, we were all worried about Watford in the middle of of the two legs against Milan, and we came out of that looking fine. So hopefully everything will be all right. I mean, are you confident about the next 3 games, Lee?
I am. I think that we do need to keep a clean sheet on Thursday against Moscow. Because I think if they get an away goal and, like you say, if it's tight, a 2-1 win or something for us, I think that gives them the upper hand. Because, it's tough going to Russia to play football. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're Arsenal or anyone else. It is a hard place to go and play football. Their fans are mad, and fair play to them, man. They get behind their team. But yeah. I think that if we can do a professional job on Thursday, get a 2 or 3-0 win, I think that sees us through to the semi. Southampton, I think we'll destroy them. I think we'll take them to pieces. West Ham ripped them a new one yesterday, and this is West Ham that have had players fans on the pitch sticking corner flags down in the centre circle. Mate, what an iconic moment that was, by the way.
I almost was at that game. We decided between that game and QPR to go to that day. Wrong decision.
Oh, you should have gone West Ham.
I've been to West Ham and I hated it so much there that I was like, I'd rather go anywhere else than West Ham. And I love Loftus Road, but when I found out about that game,
that was
killing
unbelievable. But I think that we'll beat Moscow. I think we'll beat Southampton, and then I think we'll draw with Moscow out there. So.
That would certainly be everything that we need.
But then saying that, this is Arsenal. Anything can happen.
Andy, how confident are you?
Yeah. With this team, never 100%. Yeah. But we've got some teams in front of us that we could steamroll, and I think that I think the focus needs to be on Europa. We need to make sure that the teams are fit for Europa. But we've got teams in front of us that we could beat, and I think we could build some momentum going into next year.
And, I mean, Thursday is the game that matters. It's the only game that matters right now. And other than Aubameyang, who can't play, I mean, it needs to be the strongest possible lineup. And we need to see Lacazette out there. We need to see Ramsey out there. We need Koscielny back anchoring the defense. We need to see Xhaka continue his stretch. I mean, it's got to be the right mix of players, which means no Iwobi. But I mean, that's the one that matters. If we win that one, I'm not stressed about Southampton as much, and I'm not stressed about the second game as much. If it's close, then it's going to be another butt-clenching week for us. But so that's the week to come. Right before we finish, just want to point out, after the big kahuna of American Arsenal meetups, which is Gunagra, which we talked about, and Lee, you've got to make it to New Orleans next year.
I'm all over for that.
Yeah, I mean, I
see how wavy Troops was for 4 days, man. I'm definitely coming.
Yeah, I don't think Troops wanted to go home, but there's a ton of regional meetups going on in the springtime. This is kind of where some of the smaller ones are. So I just want to mention a few of them because I just love this aspect of Arsenal fandom, especially here in the States. I mean, there's the new GoonerCon is going on in San Diego at the end of April, the last weekend of April. There's a Midwest meetup in Minneapolis that has Chicago, Detroit, Madison, Milwaukee, and Omaha all getting together on April 20th to 22nd. Virginia is for Gooners. There's about 3 or 4 different branches that get together, hopefully in the next 6 weeks or so. Heartland Gooners a few weeks ago. I mean, it's just, if you've never been, whether you're overseas or not, I mean, I harp about this all the time, but the fan base in America, contrary to public opinion in England, is just as fractured in the same ways as the fan base in England is. I mean, it is. You've got your arson in, arson out. You've got your support the team, don't support the team. You got your Mesert's the greatest guy. You got your not, your Alexis. I mean, it's the same stuff. I mean, we're just 100 years behind. But one thing that we all seem to agree on is just visiting fellow Gooners, drinking multiple dozens of beers, and singing and chanting and just kind of enjoying being a Gooner. And that tends to be a constant no matter what's happening on the pitch. So I couldn't be more happy or proud for the way that the Arsenal's growing here in the States. So I do like to highlight it every few weeks when we have a get together. But Lee, I mean, if not New Orleans, you got to come over sometime soon and make a visit.
Mate, seriously, I'm all over that next year, definitely.
I think Judge is coming in August, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get up to New York to be part of that. But
I see all the videos that were posted for Guna Gra. I'm on that, definitely.
Anytime you could see troops puss out of a bull ride and give it to Robbie.
What was that all about?
He claimed injury. He it was like
my back.
Yeah, it was like when someone tries to get out of being drafted into the military. It's like, oh, I can't do it. But I got pictures of him standing there when he thought he was doing it, looking like he'd just seen a ghost. So it's
no, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna get on that next year. Definitely, I'm gonna try and come over next year. Do you know what? I've never been to America ever.
Really?
Never been.
I would say go to San Diego first.
Yeah, it's the closest thing to your.
Do you know what though? Right, is Guna Gra in the same place every year? It's in New Orleans every year. Is that right?
Yeah, New Orleans every year. The weekend switches around because it's based on when Mardi Gras is. But
see, New Orleans is somewhere like I've always seen it on TV, and it's like very like old school with the music and stuff like that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's full of culture. Yeah. It's a one of a kind place in the U.S. that is, if you've never been there, you feel like you're not in the U.S. for I mean, and I say that in a good way. Like for however long you're down there, you're just in like a foreign country, but you're not. And and when you start looking up and down Bourbon Street and you see red shirts and yellow shirts and the Arsenal crest all up and down the street, it just there's something about that. So yeah, and we gotta wait.
Do you know what, Ryan? I must admit, and don't think I'm sounding like a dickhead here, right?
We're gonna end off the pod with you sounding like a dickhead.
But I must admit, right. I years and years I thought, you know what, the American guys, they call football soccer, right? Yeah, and I'm like, why do they call it soccer? I've never understood why you guys call it soccer, yeah, right? But you know what? The more I've met American Arsenal fans, not just on podcasts, but actually at the ground, like where they've flown over for a game and they tell you what they've gone through to get to a game. And I know what you go through, like in terms of like, you know, your whole day and like you're flying over and then you're flying onto this game and then you're going to go to, mate, fair play to every single, not just American Arsenal fan, but every single global Arsenal fan that flies over to watch that shit. Yeah.
Well, and you know, and I'll just add to that, if you know, to those who can't fly over or don't have plans to fly over, but get up every morning at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock,
crazy,
you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, in Asia or whatever.
Do you know what? On my videos, America, Australia, and I think it's India are the most viewed countries other than the UK. Yeah. Right, and Asia, Australia, and America. And when people, I asked them like months and months back, I was like, "Tell me what time you're watching the game." And it's like 3:45 a.m. kickoff. Yeah, I'm like, "What? You lot are mad! You're getting up at like 3 a.m. to watch Arsenal draw 0-0."
Yeah, Lee doesn't even make it. Lee doesn't make it to the 12:30 kickoff.
Do you know what I mean? Or like you're getting up at 4 a.m. to watch Arsenal get spanked 4-0 at Anfield. It's like mad. Yeah, fair play, man. Seriously, like that is some dedication, and you know you can't knock that. And without fans like yourselves that are overseas, then Arsenal wouldn't be as big as it is. Do you know what I mean?
Well, hey, that's it's good to hear. I appreciate the comments. I think that's a nice way to end off the pod, Andy, don't you? And
absolutely.
And let's add Mozambique to that list because that's our second most listened to country is it goes U.S., Mozambique, and then England. So
oh wow, there you go. Big up Mozambique.
Yeah, the beak.
The beak.
Thanks a lot for coming on, Lee. We appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you letting me on. Really appreciate it. I've had a good time, man. So
cheers.
Yeah, cool.
Us too, and we'll talk to you offline. But come on, you Gooners.